Today, my sermon is about the power of the young. Nobody wants to be old. Everybody is young. The power of the young. I believe God is young. He's millions of years young. A few months ago, the choir sang at one of the ACLC churches, and I can't remember the name, sorry. And I was really inspired by this service. Now, this was a youth service, that's why they invited our choir. And you can join their youth arm from 2 to 26. And so, I guess there were some babysitting issues with younger than 2. Otherwise, it could be from baby to 26, right? But they meant it because you had 2-year-old children on the program. It was just lovely. But what I admired most about the service was they had this young pastor. He came to give the sermon. And he started out, age, Baptist minister, I wish I could be a Baptist minister. Age is nothing but a number. Well, I sort of agreed with him until I thought about Sports Fest last week. Right? Because I couldn't participate in that, right? But the deeper meaning behind those words, and by the way, the choir left, right, because this guy was on fire. You know, it was a fiery sermon, just full of youth and energy. And the choir, I heard the girls saying, I'm trying to quote it how they said it. Yo, was that sermon the most awesome thing you heard or what? And I really, from that day, I was thinking about the power of the young, you know. So, my reading this morning was the Hundake was really talking about our value, you know. And I wondered, why is it true Father put these words in the book for the young people? But I was thinking, with all my interactions on a daily basis with people, and especially young people who are in a troubled state. And I was thinking about how much people don't know their value. So, especially when you're young, you don't know your value. I reflected back to my own years, you know, and the days when you had to go along with the older folk, as we called them that time. Now I don't even want to be called that, but the older folk to witness, or to pioneer, you know, or to fundraise. And I look back and I thought how much I used to feel like, why do I have to do this? Why do we even have to do this? I mean, look at all my friends, they're living a different life. Yeah. But there were so many experiences, all of us who ever were young, and if there's anybody here who was never young, you could let me know. Because all of us, we know that there was that time in our life when we didn't know what our true value was. So think about that for a moment, and then I move forward to the other day. I was reflecting too about when I sang as a young person. You know, we were part of the Hallelujah group, which became Los Internacionales, and it was like clockwork. I tell my kids, I said, you guys complain about homework. You know, when I came home, we had to even change your clothes, and you went straight to rehearsals. You know, that's to, you know, separate you from schoolwork for a little bit. And for 2 hours, you'd be singing and practicing unwillingly. But, and then 2 hours after that, you went to homework. And actually, it was a good strategy because you were so tired, you want to get that homework done quickly, you just did it, you were done, you know? So sometimes my kids take 4 hours to do 2 pages. I'm like, what is wrong with you? I do that in 5 minutes. If I wanted to go to bed. But when we were singing as a choir, you put all that work in. And I grew up in Guyana, in South America. So when Reverend Cobans was talking about all that dirt last week, that was my territory. So the Prime Minister of the country, who is actually a very solid member of UPF right now, at the time when our church was very persecuted in those days. And we didn't know, the young folk didn't care about any of that, you know, you just carried on with your life. But we were invited to sing at an event by a minister of government who actually liked our church but couldn't voice his opinions. So he invited us to sing and the Prime Minister was there. The Prime Minister stood up and he gave us a standing ovation. And from that day on, if he had to speak any place that was social and not highly political, and even if he could get us into a political event, we were invited to sing. You know, of course we weren't very happy because now we had to sing more often. And, but I didn't realize then, after I got older, I realized the power of our spirits as young people, our smiles. I tell the kids, you gotta smile. You know, we were told, if you don't smile, you don't get something, and I can't do that to these kids. You know, so we go up there and smile because we wanted whatever reward it was, you know. And our smiles, our spirit was captivating. And so without speaking a word of principle, we witnessed to the Prime Minister. And so, when he was invited to go to, I think it was IRF or one of our organizations, he happily agreed. So to me, this was a kind of a Saul into Paul moment for this man, you know. He had a moment, he moved from persecuting us to wanting us wherever he goes. And he would stand up and give, at the beginning of every speech, a spiel about how we should train everybody, telling leaders how you should train everybody to be like these young people. And we were like, yeah. Like, who cares? We don't even want to sit here and listen to all these speeches. You know? So, there was a lot of power that we didn't know about. I'm coming back to this young man, this young minister who spoke at the church. And he was talking about, you know, God doesn't care if you are 2 or if you're 82. He doesn't care as long as you are on fire for his will. And you're willing to go the distance and do, you know, what God wants you to do. And so you become young when you're 82. And that's what he meant by age is nothing but a number, you know, or a number, as he would say, you know. And so I'd like to to know, I'd like to believe that as a church as a whole, we are a young church. Historically, we are very young. Do you feel the fire burning? How many people feel the fire? Oh my word, we're in trouble. Fire! You know, can somebody come around here with a hose and out the fire? Don't let the things that normally happen to young people. When you're young, you're going through all sorts of growing pains and trials and tribulations. And even though the world isn't really that bad, and really, you know, even though, as I remember and I see it happening with my children, you think the world is coming to an end for a little incident. It's not really. So we can't, as a church, feel like because we've gone through some really rough spots, those are our growing pains to perfection. I think of how hard I was reflecting about Adam and Eve, and I said, boy, they must have been going through, we used to call it pricksing, teenage pricksing, you know. They must have been going through some really tough times as young people, and hence, you know, they became very vulnerable. We don't want to be vulnerable like that. We have to know who we are, know our value, you know, and stand up. And I said directly to our young people, you have more fire than you know. Right? Was our family? Right? You have more fire than you know. And don't think that because you have to, you know, going to school and doing homework and getting into a good college, that should be like drinking water, really. It's something you have to do. You know, what's the most difficult thing? The most difficult thing is to develop a character of love. You know, somewhere when one morning I was reading Hundake, I was really surprised that Father said, you know, God doesn't have a strong value of knowledge as a, you know, I mean, Father said it all along. It's not power, money, knowledge, it's not that. And it dawned upon me, gee, the hardest thing for me to do is to love my enemy. So why am I putting so much energy in making money? Because I want to live comfortable. Bottom line. See, that's, to me, a trick from the devil. Because if we have love, I admire people who can, you know, I like to watch people who go in waters and hold crocodiles, and I can see it from the television screen. Not getting anywhere near that. Or lie with lions. I am not doing that. But I admire those who can, because it's a certain level of love, you know. And so when I see that, if that's the most, you know, daring thing, other than jumping out of the sky, that would be, that's my frame of reference for what it is to really love and be free to do anything. And we're not talking about Miley Cyrus type of freedom. You know, you can do whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, it's my mouth. I didn't know the song. We're not talking about that kind of freedom. As a matter of fact, I have a quote from Divine Principle. It says, there is no freedom outside of the principle. Freedom cannot exist outside of the principle. Freedom is accompanied by responsibility laid out in the principle. Freedom pursues accomplishments that bring joy to God. So Miley Cyrus' freedom is out of the window. That is no freedom. extremely proud of our second gen. I don't know if you know why you have so many problems. You see, I tell you, when we, your parents, were younger, we were the hottest commodity for Satan. He wanted us because that was the way to destroy true parents. That was the way to destroy true parents. So Satan came after us. With a vengeance. You know, many of us parents, we've been through hell. We can't tell you. We can't tell you. I'm not weeping for that. I'm weeping because you are second gen and young people. You're the next new target. He's done with us, first gen. So he's targeting you. He's after you. You're his hottest commodity. If he can destroy you, he can destroy true parents. That's how he feels. That's what he thinks. You know, that's what Satan thinks. So I want to say to you, don't be a puppet for any devil at all. Don't allow yourselves to be a puppet. And that's why I feel proud of you, because I see you making effort. It's hard. It's hard for all of you second gen. But you're making the effort. Even when, oh, I don't want to go to church today, Ma. But anyway, I'll put on the clothes and I'll come. You know, it's effort. It's hard. Because you'd rather be home playing a video game. I know, I hook up the devil. Or you'd rather be home. Why? Why do you feel that way? Because the trick and the lie is Satan wants us to believe that Miley Cyrus type of freedom, I can do whatever I want. What's the thing? Who knows it? You know, I can say whatever. You know, it's my body. I can, you know. That's what he wants us to feel. He wants you to feel that that's how it should be. You know. No, you're too precious. That's why I put the reading. You are too precious. You're too valuable. You know, it's not for us parents you're valuable for. It's for you and for the love of God that's coming through you. So I want to say to all young people, including those of us who are over 82, that don't believe the trick. Sometimes, even us, first gen, parents, neighbors, friends, sometimes when we are down and out, if we don't think for a moment, we too become the target that impedes our second gen. So what can you do to show your strength? What can you do? What you can do is absolutely persevere. And I tell you what I learned in my life of faith. And I must have said this before, and I say it again. I'm not a second gen, but I grew up in the church from 9 years old. And we had to do service projects. This is my husband's main theme. Oh, the kids need to do service. It's a good thing. He believes in that. Young people should do service. We did a lot of service, little things. You know, we cooked food and took. I don't think you could do that now with the laws in place, but we cooked food and took food to the seniors' homes. You know, I'm sure it didn't taste so good, but they were so happy to sing something. You even took seniors for a walk around the building. You know, we combed their hair. Little things. You don't have to stress yourself. You know. And it really opens your heart. You know, we can do service. We can volunteer for things in our church. Our church is loaded with things. You know, when I was 18 years old, my church leader said, "You are going to teach at ISOM." I said, "What?" "You're going to teach the principles. Introductory seminar on the unification movement," something like that. And I had to teach chapter 1. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I'm like, why me? Why are they picking on me to teach a divine principle? So that was a forum where we brought professors and teachers. Who am I? But she had a point, because opening the first chapter with a young person, you know, the professors don't care. Then you could make the world of mistakes. They say, "Oh, she's young." You know, soften their heart. There was a point. So when the real big-time lecturers came on and they started to make their mistakes, they were, "Okay, we got it now." You know, they took it. So, believe me, God is jumping in you. God is working in you. I say, our dear brothers and sisters, as a young church, and to dear Second Gen, as young people, let's do more. Go and witness. Volunteer to go witnessing with an adult. You know, let's do things together. And you know, we're going to step back more and more as the bones start creaking and we can't walk fast. And you know, we're going to step back and we want you to stand in front. You know. Yeah. You know, I would like to ask, is there any Second Gen who would like to take over WWP? I've been pleading for that. Something I really want, truly, really. You know, I would be very happy. And I give you 202% support. You want me to go somewhere? I'll do it. You know, because I want you to succeed. You know, so how many more kids can join the choir? Lift the hearts of people when they come to our service. Let's see that. You know, don't be shy. God is in you. And so to close, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to read Father's prayers given to the youth. Father, please let us decorate our time of youth beautifully. Please watch over the path of these people who are connected to you and let them grow, centering on the foundation for that beautiful environment. Please make them true sprouts that all the people of their tribe, the country and world like to look to. Please make them trees of new life that can embrace all of humankind. I sincerely pray that you will allow us to remain even after we bear new flowers and fruit and disperse them to all humankind. Youth is fleeting, Lord, and life will flee along with the years. Even as all others fly away, we cannot be like that. We must even go against history, the Miley Cyrus social environment, I'm putting it in there, which is also fleeting. And we must become the fertilizer and the cornerstone. I sincerely pray that the young people can become those kind of people. Okay? One other point that I wanted to mention. You know why Satan is so much after us? Because we're probably closer to being in the image and likeness of God than we really know. You know, we're probably closer to God second gen that Satan really, really wanted to destroy was who? Everybody knows who? True children. True children. And boy, he worked overtime. He put all his resources and energy. You know, so the rest of us, we're holding that place. We are holding the place for them. Let us keep doing it so we could liberate and make true parents and God truly happy. So I want to encourage us to do this, and I don't usually do this, but Irmgard Baines has constantly probed me to do this, so I'll sing the song.